The Anderstorp circuit was the site of the Swedish Grand-Pri. Two of the drivers wanted at least to produce the same results, Reutemann and Andretti. For the latter, it seemed to start all right when he once again took pole, outclassing his adversaries, even if the differences were not as great as in Belgium. Nielsen, despite basking in the glory of his victory, could only take 7th time on the grid. Lafitte, well, he said he was worried. Said the tyres are getting very hot, a bit concerned about the race. The result of the warm-ups, Watson was on the front row, Stuck third. On the other hand, it was all going wrong at Ferrari. Their V12 was not suited to the circuit. Reutemann was only 12th at the end of the qualifiers, and Lauda 15th. Well, this was at the same time when the best driver in the fields, in the top team, could lose 10 places or more from one week to the next. It was very close. Well, everything was ready for a great race, even if Andretti was expected to win. He led for the first laps and started to build up a lead. At that point, Jacques Lafitte was only in 11th place, just in front of Lauda. Well, this was a waiting race played by the Frenchman, who only had a single car to his name. The reason was Ligier had preferred to reserve all their material for the following Grand Prix, which was to take place in France. In front, Andretti continued his superior drive. Nielsen was in front of him, but not on the same lap. He only had Watson and Scheckter behind him, keeping up some faint hope. But Watson and Scheckter, well, they were to collide in the 30th lap, which released a few hungry appetites. And that is the moment when Lafitte decided to show his colours. Catching and overtaking his adversaries one by one. You might have to pinch yourself to believe it, but 5 laps from the finish, Lafitte was second, having overtaken Stuck, Reutemann, Mass, De Piet and James Hunt. Suddenly, 4 laps from the end, Andretti's Lotus disappeared into the pits for a short refuelling. It was either that or run out. And so the Ligier Matra found itself in the lead. Lafitte didn't let up and won his first Grand Prix victory. An historic day for French motorsport, but no Marseillaise was played on the podium. The organisers had foreseen everything except a French victory. Well, when they held up the P1 board, he says, I thought they'd made a mistake, but then I realised I could go on and win. I'm very pleased.
Interrupted by a swarm of Grand Prix cars in full flight. With 2 Swedes on the podium at the previous race, the Swedish Grand Prix was a big event. Unfortunately for the locals, neither driver was in the leading group. Watson led the first lap, but Andretti was soon past and looked to have the race in the bag. Jones was one of many drivers that visited Anderstorp's unique in one side and out the other pits. The Australian continued, as did James Hunt, who called in later for new tyres. But pit stops cost places, and neither finished in the top 10. Scheckter, who tangled with Watson over second place, was one of the relatively few retirements. Another was Niki Lauda, whose Ferrari wasn't handling properly. The most important pit stop came with just 2 laps to go. Mario Andretti's engine had been running rich since the start, and despite driving as if on a high-speed economy run, he realised he couldn't make it to the flag and had to call in for fuel. As Colin Chapman and the Lotus team tried to sort out how many places had been lost, the delirious Ligier mechanics greeted Jacques Lafitte, the unexpected winner. The Frenchman had been as far back as 10th on the first lap, but he'd made steady progress to score the first Grand Prix victory for him and the team. With neither Lauda nor Scheckter finishing, and unlucky Andretti scoring only 1 point for 6th place, the championship standings stayed the same.